The main menu is the first things players see when they start your game, so let's dive into Godot. So I have a new project here, and I'm gonna start by making this a user interface scene, and then I'm gonna hit the plus button, and I'm gonna search for a panel, and I'm gonna hit create. I'm gonna go up to the anchor preset, and I'm gonna anchor it to the center. Then I'm going to go into the theme overrides and make a new style for the panel. This will be a style box flat, and then I want to give it a background color. I'm gonna hit the color picker, and I'm gonna select the backdrop of the draw center. I like this dark gray color. Then I will go down to shadow. I want the same color for this one, so I'm gonna hit the color picker and select the backdrop, and that's a nice gray now. I'm gonna give the size for the shadow something small so we can see how it works. I'm gonna zoom in, and if I go to the corner radius, if I increase any of these, it will round it out, and you see that if I round more of them, it will move slightly, so it will give two different looks. So if I increase the size, let's make the size 2000, and then if you want to, you can make it a circular pattern by just increasing any of these to, let's say, 1. I think this panel acts as a pretty good background right now. So next I will add the buttons. So I will select the control node and hit the plus button. And I want to start by adding a container. And the container I want is a VBox container. You can see on the icon of it, the way it will lay out the children. So I'm gonna hit create, and I'm also gonna anchor this to the center. So I hit the anchor and center, and then I will add some buttons. So I'm gonna select the control node and add a button. And you can see if I do it this way, the button will be all the way over here, and it won't really be aligned to anything. I can drag it on top of the VBox container to make it a child. And now you can see that it's inside of the VBox container. I want to make the VBox container a little bit bigger. I'm gonna hold Alt on my keyboard, and I'm gonna drag out the corner point to make it a little bit bigger. I think something like this is pretty good for the size. If you don't hold in Alt, it won't move uniformly, so that's why. I will call this button play, and then I will also rename the button. You double click on the button, and before button I will say play and button. I will duplicate this button 2 times, and the second one will be options, and I will also give it a new name. And the third one will be quit. And now when I have 3 buttons, they're fairly small, so I want to make them bigger. So you can search for font, and here we have theme overrides, and you can change the font size. If I were to change this for just this one, since it's an override, it will only change for this one. I could, but instead of changing it manually for each of them, I will make a theme. And to do that, I will scroll down to theme, and on theme I will make a new theme. And if I click on it, it will open up the theme tab over here. And for the theme, you can change a lot of things. I'll start by changing the font color. So you hit the plus to override the default. And then I have a color palette that I want to use of 3 colors for the buttons. So I can enter the hex code for the color here. And then I can go into swatches and hit the plus button to add it. Then I can go to the hover color, press the plus button and enter a new code here and hit the plus button. And then I can go out of here and go down to the font pressed color, hit the plus button for that as well, and then I'll add my last one and hit the plus button. You can see that there are now 3 different hues of orange to make it more noticeable when you press the button. So to the left here, there's a preview window, and there's a button here, for example, and you can see that if I hover it, it changes color, and if I press it, it changes color again. And if I press it and move out of it, it will become white. And that's because it's in a different mode. And that mode is called focused. So let's see if I can find font focus. Font focus color. I'm gonna hit the plus button. Then I'm gonna go into color. And I wanna use the same color I did for the hover. And that's the middle U one that I used. I'm gonna click on that, and then it's set. So now if I click on the button again, if I click out, it changes color to the hover color. So I think it's pretty nice. Then we can go to the C tab, and in here you can, for example, add some outline to your button. I won't be doing that for these buttons. Then you can go to the T symbol and you can add a custom font. And if you go to your web browser and search for Google Fonts, there's a very nice website for that. And in here there's a bunch of fonts you can use, and it's currently sorted by trending, but I'm gonna sort it by most popular. And then I think I'm gonna choose the top one, Roboto, and then I'll hit get font, and then you can download all of them. I think it's a family of fonts, but I only want the Roboto font, So I'm gonna hit the download button on the Roboto. And in my downloads folder, I'll right click on the Roboto folder. You can just hit extract all if you don't have a WinRAR. And then I'll extract it inside of my downloads folder. And then I'm gonna open up the static folder. And the only one I want is the Roboto condensed black. So I will just drag it inside of the rest folder. And now I will have the Roboto condensed black. And this is what it looks like. And then I can add this font as my custom font. So I'm gonna hit the plus button. And I'm gonna drag in this font into the font. And now it changed how it looked slightly. Then I'll go into the next tab, and that's for the font size. I'm gonna override this as well, and I will make it something like 80. Maybe that's slightly too big, so I'll try 50. And then the next tab is for icon. I don't have an icon for this, so I'll move on to the next one, which is the style. And the style is basically the background of it. I actually don't want a background behind the button, so I can go into the normal, and I can make a new theme. Most of the time you would use a new stylebox flat if you want to customize it and make it look all sorts of ways, let's say rounded corners or something else, or give it a shadow or a border. But in my case I want to add a stylebox empty, and that will make the background invisible. And I will do the same for the hover and the focus, so I will give them a stylebox empty as well. And then for the pressed one I will also give that a stylebox empty. And now if I go to the preview window, I will only see the color change, and on the pressed style I will click on that, and for the content margins I will open that up and I will make the button, let's say 5. And now if I click on the button over in the preview, you will see that it goes up a little bit. I think that looks nice. And now I'm happy with how the theme looks, and I will hit the save button to save the theme. And since it's orangey, I'm gonna call it Ember. I think that's a nice name for the theme. And then I want it to apply to all buttons in my game. And to do that, I will have to go to Project, Project Settings, and in here on Filter Settings, I can search for theme, and then I will find theme over here. And on Custom, I can put a theme here, and then I will select my theme that I made and hit Open. And then it will prompt you to save and restart, so I will do that. And now you can see that it's applied to all buttons. I don't like that they are so small, so I will select the play button, and then I will hold in Shift and click on the quit button to select all in between. And then on the filter properties I will search for font, and then on theme overrides and font sizes I can change the font, and it changes for all of them. I do think something like 70 works pretty well for this. And then I will hold in Alt and drag the top point in the center here, and I will drag them down a little bit on the VBooks container. And then if you wanted to, you can give some more separation in between the buttons. So on the VBooks container, I can go to theme overrides and constraints, and I can give it a little bit constraint, let's say 25. And if I now were to run the scene in the top right here, on the run scene button, it looks pretty good. And I have my buttons and I can click on them. And you see that they move up a little bit when I click them. So that's a nice feature, but they don't actually do anything. So let's drag down the output to make it smaller so we can see what we're working with. And to give them functionality, we have to add a script. So I'm going to select the top node, which is the control node, and I'm going to rename this to menu. And then I will hit the attach a new script button right here, and then I will create. And we will get two functions with it, which we don't need. So I'm going to select them and remove them. And then I'm going to go back to the 2D view. Let's start by connecting the signals from the buttons. So let's start with the play button. I'm gonna select it, and then I will go into the node tab, and I want something to happen when you click it, and that's the pressed signal. This is a built-in signal that gets sent from the button to the script each time you click on a button. So let's first connect it to the script. We can double click on it and select the menu with the script attached to it, and then you hit connect. Let's make a scene that it will change to. So I'm gonna make a new scene here, and in the scene I'm gonna make this a user interface scene as well, and then I will add a label, and I'm gonna hit the anchor, and I'm gonna center it. And then on the text I will just say game, and let's make it a little bit bigger, like 50. And I think this is perfect. So I'm gonna save the scene, I'm gonna go back to the menu and back to the script, and where it says pass on the signal that we connected, we want to change the scene. And to do that in Godot you do get tree, and then we do dot change scene to file, and the file we want to change to is the game. It suggested the game already as the path, so I can press enter on it. But if it doesn't do that, You can also drag it in from the file system. So I have game here, and I can just drag it into the script in between the parentheses, and that's all we have to do for the play button. And next we will connect the signal from the option button. So I'm gonna select the option button, go to the node and connect the pressed signal and hit connect. And I'm gonna wait with this a little bit, and I'm gonna do the quit button first. So I'm gonna connect the quit button signal as well for the pressed and hit connect. And on the quit button, that's similar to the play button, get _3, and then you do .quit. And that's all you have to do for the quit. Let's try it out. So I'm gonna hit the run project button, and I want it to start in the menu as the default scene. So I'm gonna select current, and then if I hit the plus button, it will change to the game. And if I run it again, and if I hit the quit button, it will close down the game. And so it did. And the options still don't do anything. And to make the options do something, we will have to do a little bit more work. So let's go back to the 2D view, and let's make a options menu. And I actually want another VBox container, so I'm gonna search for VBox and add a VBox container and hit create. I'm gonna rename the old VBox container to menu VBox container, and the new one I will rename it to options VBox container, and I will center it, and I will make it a little bit bigger. For now, I will actually hide the old menu by hitting the toggle visibility. It's the eye symbol, and it will hide it. And in this option VBox container, I will add a label. So I'm gonna hit the plus button and add a label. This will just say on the text options, and then I want it to be in the center, and right now it's at the left. I'm gonna select the horizontal alignment and center it. Then I'm gonna search for font, and on theme overrides I will set the size to something like 50, and on the colors I will change the font color to my swatches, and I want the darkest one, so I'm gonna select it. And for the font, I'm gonna drag in the font that I downloaded, and now it looks pretty good. I'm gonna select the options VBox container and hit the plus button. And then I want to add a button, but not any button. I want to add a check button. I'm gonna select that and hit create. And on the text for this button, I will just say audio. And now I have the audio and a toggle. I'm gonna select the options button VBox container again and add a button. This time it's just gonna be a normal one, and this one will say back. Now if I were to run the scene, just try out the options, I will see that if I click on the audio, it will turn white, and I don't want that. So to fix that real quick, we're gonna go back to the theme. So I can just double click on the Ember theme, and it should open up the theme, and that's a different type of hover. It's the hover pressed, and for this one I will give the hover color, which is my middle one on the swatches, and now it shouldn't have that issue. So let's make them a little bit bigger. I'm gonna select the check button and search for font, and I'll make it a little bit bigger. I think something like 25, and then for the button, which is the back one, I will make this. Let's see what looks good. I think 25 looks pretty good on the back button as well, so I'll keep it like that. I'm gonna rename these buttons to back button, and this will be audio mute button, and then this will be options label. And now I have pretty good names. I do want the back button to be further below the other ones, so I'm gonna select the container, hit the plus button, and I'm gonna add a margin. So I'll search for margin, and I'm gonna add a margin container. I'm gonna drag it in between the audio and the back button, and then I will go into the layout, and on the custom minimum size I will increase the Y. I want it to be, let's say, 50 below the audio. And I do actually think I want another margin between the options and the audio as well. So I'm gonna select it and hit Ctrl D, and I'm gonna put it in between those as well. I could have just given it some separation, but if you have more options, let's say I duplicate the audio a couple times, it will look something like this instead, which looks a lot better, but I'm gonna keep it like this. So I'm gonna call this top margin and bot margin. And I should probably rename this to mute audio, and the button should probably be called mute audio as well. I think I'm pretty happy with this, so let's make the options work. I'm gonna select the mute audio button and go into the node, and I'm gonna select the toggle signal and double click that and connect it. Then I will connect the back button, so select that and connect the pressed signal. And now we have the signals that we're gonna need. So when we press the options, we want to hide the menu and show the options. So I can just drag in the menu into the script and do .hide. And then I can drag in the options and do dot show. And I can copy this and paste it on the back button, but swap these. So instead of hide, it should say show, and do the same for this one, hide. And then I guess we can make a ready function as well. So I'm gonna make a new function on top of here, func ready, and it's a built-in function. And I actually want the menu to be visible at start and the options to be hidden. And now we have working menus that should open and close. And on the mute button, we can remove the path and we can say audio server and then dot set bus to mute. And then the index of the default bus is 0. If I go into the audio tab in the bottom here, we have the master bus, which is 0. And if I were to add another bus, this will be index 1, for example. I'm gonna delete this second one for now, and I'll go back to the script. And then this one should be equal to the bool. So we can just use the toggle on, and this is handled by the button itself for the toggle on and off. So now it should make the audio server bus mute, the index 0, and when it's true or false, it should mute it and unmute it. I have some other music here, and to show it off, I will add a audio stream player and the type of 2D, and then on the stream for the audio stream player I can drag in my monkey music. On the autoplay I'm gonna enable this. Lastly, I'm gonna add a back button to the game scene so we can return to the menu. So I'm gonna add a button and I'm just gonna say back, and this one can have its own script, so I'm just gonna call it game, and I'm gonna connect the signal to itself, get the tree, change scene to file, and I'm gonna change back to the menu. Now if I run my game, my play button works. I can click on it to change to the game. I can hit the back button and I can go into the options. I can mute the audio, and it muted the audio actually. Then I can uncheck it and it should start playing again. Then I can hit the back button and I can also quit. Thanks for watching, and special thanks to my members. For source code, custom videos or coaching, check out my Ko-Fi, and I'll see you in the next one.